Okay, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This here is a recording for Chapter 11, Section 1, From Republic to Empire. Of course, we're talking about the Romans. Our time period right now is we're kind of beginning around the 70s BC, 60s BC time period. And then through this video here, we're going to basically take ourselves down to about 27 BC. So for this first video, for this section, I'm going to do two videos for this one here. I really think this section should have been divided into two sections, so I'm going to do that myself. So here are our main ideas. We're going to deal with the first two in this video. Disorder in the Roman Republic, creating an opportunity for Julius Caesar to gain power, and then get through the Republic ending and Augustus becoming Rome's first emperor. Here are the key terms for this entire section, so you can go ahead and write all of these down now. Really, the ones we'll probably use right now through this first video are these first five, all the way through Augustus, but leave a couple blanks down below after you do the key terms, because I will probably want to add a couple words that the textbook doesn't highlight. One of them that I would add right now is triumvirate. We've talked about that a little bit in class, but a triumvirate is just three leaders, and we'll talk about that here in this video. So as we get here to disorder in the Republic, we basically take ourselves back to the end of chapter 10. At the end of chapter 10, you had the Gracchus brothers, the evidence of the Gracchus brothers and the violence being used as a political weapon. We had Marius and Sulla changing how the army operated and the loyalty of the army, and then their civil war. And then, of course, we had Spartacus and his slave revolt. So that's kind of the disorder that's going on in Rome. And there's other examples, but those three that I just talked about, those are good examples of what was happening in Rome and all the chaos and confusion and riots and things like that. And the government is trying to deal with these situations, but they can't. And this is where Julius Caesar, of course, is going to be able to step into that vacuum. So think about all the things we talked about with Julius Caesar previously. So we start out here with calls for change, and this is Cicero. Okay, Cicero sees the chaos in Rome, and he recognizes that people like Julius Caesar, these Roman generals that lead armies, are kind of gaining influence and popularity of the people, and that means they're gaining power. And Cicero fears that. He's a philosopher and a statesman. He's a public speaker by trade. So he's not a soldier. He's not a general, anything like that. He's like a historian, and he's learned from history. And he remembers, or he doesn't remember because it wasn't there, but he understands what it was like for Romans when they lived under the Etruscan kings, and he fears that's where Rome is going. He wants Rome to go back to giving more support to the Senate and the checks and balances system and things like that, instead of putting all of their faith into one person. The problem with Cicero is not very many people are going to listen to him. He's not as exciting as a Julius Caesar. And so what ends up happening is Julius Caesar, he's going to rise to power. Caesar is going to have a fight with Cicero and his supporters. Caesar, of course, ultimately wins that fight. Cicero will commit suicide rather than being caught by Caesar or even being pardoned by Caesar, because that would be embarrassing if Cicero was pardoned for speaking out against Julius Caesar and modifying his principles or things like that. Julius Caesar would be seen as this great person of humility and all of that type of stuff. He didn't want to give Caesar that power. So what else happens? Caesar here. So we have Julius Caesar, and now Julius Caesar, we've talked enough about him, so I'll go quickly on that. He rose to power mainly through his military conquests while he was up fighting in Gaul, and now we're into the 50s BC. He's going to write several books about his military campaigns up there. And of course, in these books, he's going to make him sound even more special and more heroic and courageous. You can read this little excerpt from one of his books, The Gallic Wars, and he's talking about himself in the first person. He's very egotistical, very arrogant, and of course, he wants to make himself seem special to the people of Rome. The people of Rome, especially the commoners, are going to read his books, and they are going to adore Caesar. And that's where he's going to get his power. And with his military successes, he becomes involved in the politics of Rome. He will become one of the triumvirate. When we talk about that word there, triumvirate, the three leaders of Rome, Caesar kind of wheedles his way in between Pompey and Crassus. Pompey and Crassus were very influential in Rome at that time. It ends up to where all three of them fight against each other. Crassus will die in a military campaign in Spain, and then Pompey and Caesar will actually go against each other. And that's where this kind of talks about it right here, where Pompey's allies and Caesar's armies will fight each other for power in Rome. Ultimately, what happens is Caesar is called back to Rome by Pompey. Caesar, of course, crosses the Rubicon right down here. He crosses the Rubicon River, and that's a violation of the law in Rome. So now Caesar is a traitor to Rome. However, Pompey's army couldn't go up against Caesar's army. Kind of a little talk right here. As war is certain between the two, Pompey and his allies will flee Italy because they can't really go up against Caesar and his army. What ends up happening is Caesar's going to chase Pompey and his army. Eventually, Pompey is defeated. His army is defeated in Greece. Pompey flees to Egypt, and the Egyptian king kills Pompey. So now Caesar has power alone. We did talk about Caesar and his role with Cleopatra, helping Cleopatra in Egypt gain power to the throne, and how those two will form an alliance. And eventually, of course, Caesar goes back to Rome in 45 BC. He will declare himself dictator for life, try to do some things that make him more popular in Rome. But as he's doing all of these things, it makes the senators of Rome fear him. They're also jealous. And when you fear and jealous, combine those together, you're going to do some very bad things. And in this case here, the senators plot against Julius Caesar, and they will kill him on the Senate floor. On the Ides of March, right here, March 15th. So the Ides of March, that's another vocabulary I'd want you to put down. Really, the Ides of March, this is known as the date that Julius Caesar is stabbed in the Roman Senate. So you can put that down there. And then there's the problem with a lot of the problems with the Roman senators is they really had no plan after Caesar was killed. They really thought the people would rise up and be glad that the senators did this. But really they had no plan after that, so they fled Rome. They fled Italy. What's going to happen is Mark Antony is going to team up with Octavian and another person of Rome, and they are going to form what is known as the Second Triumvirate, and then they're going to go around all of the Roman world and avenge Caesar's death. They will kill those that plotted against Caesar, and they are very successful at doing it. Now, what's going to happen is during the time that Octavian and Mark Antony have formed their alliance, their Second Triumvirate, Mark Antony is going to marry Octavian's sister. Her name is Octavia. But 8 years later, so we're looking at around 32 BC, what ends up happening is Mark Antony divorces Octavia and marries Cleopatra. Yes, the same Cleopatra of Julius Caesar. Well, this is seen as an insult by Octavian because Octavian had basically given his sister to Mark Antony. And so now Mark Antony and Octavian are going to go to war. In this war, it doesn't last very long. Octavian's fleet, or his army, will sail out to meet Antony's outside of Greece, just west of Greece, at the Battle of Actium. Antony's fleet is defeated by Octavian's fleet. What ends up happening is Mark Antony and Cleopatra will commit suicide. Kind of the lover's tale, the Romeo and Juliet, I guess you could say. Instead of being taken prisoner or being pardoned by Octavian, Mark Antony will kill himself along with Cleopatra. So what happens is now Octavian will return to Rome, and he's seen as this great hero of the people. While he was gone fighting Mark Antony and trying to find Caesar's killers and things like that, there was still chaos in Rome. Octavian's going to come in. He's relatively young, and he's going to be seen as this hero. Even the senators of Rome, those same ones that thought they could restore the republic, they are now going to ask for Octavian to be the leader, the sole leader. And he will be given the title of princeps, or first citizen. For a couple of these years there that he's back, say 29 BC, 28 BC, the Roman senators are going to ask Octavian to take full ownership of Rome, like a dictator and things like that. Several times Octavian will refuse. He'll say, no, that is not what this is about. I don't want to be the only leader. Rome is supposed to be about the Republic. Eventually, in 27 BC, Octavian will announce that he's giving up power to the Senate, but really he keeps his own power. He will change his name, or the Senate will give him a new name called Augustus, which means the revered one, right? And it's right here, this 27 BC, when the Senate changes Octavian's name to Augustus, and now he is seen as like a god figure, because that's what revered means to them. Historians mark this as the end of the Roman Republic and the beginning of the Roman Empire. And then we will talk in our next video about Octavian's role, or Augustus, Caesar Augustus's role as emperor, and how Augustus is going to be the longest serving emperor of Rome. He will serve from 27 BC to 14 AD, okay, so 41 years, and it's the Roman Empire now. There is only one person in control, and for 41 years, that one person is Augustus. So what the Roman Senate did by killing Julius Caesar is actually end the Roman Republic and get them to where they only have one leader, just like they had with the kings. So that's where we're at for this first video for the first half of chapter 11, section 1. Thank you, guys.